right, yo, what's up? Welcome inside Fantasy Executive Show. It's your boy Corey Parson, the Fantasy Executive Network on YouTube. Make sure you do the YouTube type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe, hit the bell to notify. I'm just learning these terminologies. You know what I'm saying? So do all the YouTube type stuff so you can rock with us. So my children can go to college. You know what I'm saying? Greatly appreciate that. But it is August 1st, and we are into hot and heavy fantasy football draft month. So it's time to start talking some fantasy football. Some of you already rocking and rolling and into it, you know what I'm saying? But if you're just getting into it, you know what I mean? We'll walk through this together, you know what I'm saying? So joining me today, the debut guest, you know what I'm saying? The guy that everyone in the industry wants to be like, my man from NBC Sports Edge. He is NBC Sports Edge, the right-hand man to Matthew Berry on the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Lawrence Jackson, what's good, my brother?
What's happening, my boy? Good to see you out here doing your thing, man. And definitely an honor to be the first guest up on this mug.
Yeah, no doubt. You know what I'm saying? You're doing your thing too. You know what I mean? So definitely is getting ready for go time. But I mean, just so far, I mean, really, you've had 2 full seasons now inside this fantasy football content space on a level where people can recognize you at the Fantasy Football Expo or maybe even in the airport in New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? How's the first 2 years been so far in the industry? You know what I'm saying?
Shit, man, that is straight, man. You know, as we do, man, we just fellas like us, we just put our work out there, control what we could control, and let everything lie how it lie. But things kind of move quick for me, and you know this because I wasn't even really in it like that when you first met me. You feel me? So just you know how I do. I grinded it out, and in 2022, a lot of things happened. Like you say, you know, Matthew Berry coming to NBC. So that created another opportunity for me and some others to be able to do some content with him too, man. So it been a long time coming from, you know, just making the videos about the whip. You feel me?
Yeah, for real. Coming out the truck, you know what I'm saying? And now you get to go into the studio with Matthew Berry. And it didn't take that long, you know what I'm saying? And then I see for the new season, the hair is different, you know what I'm saying? The plaits is gone, you know what I'm saying? We going with the cut, you know what I mean? Are we a little fade action right there too? Okay, a fade with the
Yeah,
part, you know what
I
I'm
got a
saying?
little fade. Hey,
Yeah,
look,
all right.
I really would finna go ahead and get that 1994 Deion Sanders prime time with the curl at the top when
Yeah.
he had the, but I can't risk the perm like that. You know what I'm saying? I could get the S curl back in '03. I can't risk the perm burning out my hair now
Yeah.
at this age now, so I ain't even gonna mess with the S curl. But I just rock with this because I'm a '90s kid, you know.
All right, there you go, right there. So you know what I mean. Coming into the new year with a new look, you know what I'm saying, and definitely, you know, you probably already follow on Twitter, so you don't got to worry about that stuff. But you know what I'm saying. Definitely support the work that the homie is doing. But you know, me and you, we text message each other, and sometimes people in the industry can be the ira of our text messages. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be on the bad side of the group chat. You know what I mean? But definitely good to get a chance to talk a little football with you as we get ready to come up. And I want to start with talking about your approach when it comes to drafting players who are injured. You know what I'm saying? So before we talk about the players that are injured this year and get your thoughts on some of them, how do you approach in general, year after year, going after a player, rostering a player who may be coming into the season injured or with injury concerns? Don't get me wrong, some years I've taken the risk, I'm gonna stash this dude on the bench. You know what I'm saying? It don't seem like that ever works out the way it's supposed to, at least from what I can think of right now.
Well, from my point of view, it really just depends on what the injury is and if it's if the player done dealt with different type of injuries or is this something lingering from the past. You know what I'm saying? An example of both of those, right? Todd Gurley had the knee. Uh, Going away from the Rams and coming to the Falcons, that was his same knee that he had the issue with, and he started off that season with the Falcons as a top 6 fantasy running back through the first 9 weeks, right? All touchdowns, which is great in fantasy, but he tailed off at the end. But it was that knee that was lingering from a couple of years. Now you talk about a player like a Christian McCaffrey or a Keenan Allen. Well, these two dudes had a bunch of little injuries that was non-related. So we saw up until last season, Keenan Allen had 3-4 straight years of at least wide receiver 15 production. He was giving you 1,100 yards a year for the past 3 or 4 years. But the prior 3 years before that, he'd have an injury here, an injury there. So them type players, I want to go after them. If they have different injuries, we saw Christian McCaffrey get back into being, on the top fantasy running back radar after dealing with literally he had played 10 games in 2020 and 2021. He came back. Even when he was on the Panthers last year, he was getting his touches, getting his targets, got to the 49ers. He took that thing to a whole nother level. So it really depends on, what the injury is, and if it's a lingering injury like a Michael Thomas. It seems that, he's just dealing with the lower extremities all the time, that ankle. He started off good last year, wasn't able to finish the season. So it just depends on the situation. If a dude break an elbow, then he hurt his foot, I'm not worried about that. Those don't have nothing to do with each other. So then what I'll do, Corey, is I get in the lead and take advantage of those dudes who talking about some injury prone, whatever that means. And then I'll take Dalvin Cook, as he was also a couple years back, came off ACL, hamstring, and then he ran for 1,500 yards. So it just depends on the situation. I want the players that are coming off different type of injuries that aren't related. My best example for this season going to be Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Jackson injuries over the past couple of years have been kind of more, freak injury things, or and maybe even last year you can consider saying, okay, I'm not going to push through this at this time. I don't want to speculate, whatever. But you did mention Dalvin Cook, and it's like he has a chronic shoulder, but the shoulder don't really keep him out. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
I wouldn't worry too much. I agree with you on that. But let's look at J.K. Dobbins. You know what I'm saying? He's a player who we know what he can do injury-wise. Right now, his NFFC ADP, he's going at round 5, pick 10. Now, his injuries are interesting. Feel good that he's going to be ready to go week 1. But after the past 2 years and then after the disappointments last year, how are you attacking J.K. Dobbins?
Well, as far as the injury is concerned, you saw last year when he was running, he broke a 44-yard run and was limping in the open field. The hole was just so wide open, he had no choice but to gain 45 yards on the carry. And that's what you see. You'll see that on 1 year out from the ACL injury, just based on what we've seen, unless you're Adrian Peterson. That's a different monster. And I kind of look at it the same as Javonte Williams. I'm sure we'll talk about him. I think the thing with J.K. Dobbins right now more so is his contract situation, which I don't understand it and we've talked about this and the whole running back thing and contracts. To me, it's not a one size fits all. There's not a lot of leverage here as far as that goes for J.K. Dobbins. He's coming off the injury, hasn't had a top tier season yet. So in his particular case, if there's a contract issue and Jim Harbaugh said it was complicated, you ain't really working with too much, leverage there. Like, you've never ran for 1,800 yards like Jonathan Taylor. You've never had 2,000 yards in the season like a Saquon Barkley. Like, you've never carried teams like those guys and Derrick Henry. So I think now his situation is more contractual than it is injury. I like they saying his injury, he looking good to go, but he wanting a new contract, and I don't know how that's gonna work out for the boy. So his fifth round ADP, I don't mind it there, but I'm taking a dude in that range like a Cam Akers over that because he's not hurt. We've seen him perform after his Achilles. We have yet to see JK back at that full throttle, although we should expect it. We ain't seen it yet. Doesn't have leverage with the contract.
Now, the contract thing is interesting. Would you do a Miles Sanders deal? Six mil?
If J.K. Dobbins was to have a decent year, which I would say J.K. Dobbins could do what Miles Sanders did last season, run for 1,200, because you got to worry about Lamar, run for 10 touchdowns. If you do that, then that's the type of deal he'll get. That's just what it is. Unless he just surprises us and becomes, get up in that Nick Chubb, that Derrick Henry tier, then that type of contract is a good comparison to what I could see him getting.
Like, I couldn't ever give him Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry 12 because
I
haven't seen you stay healthy. Let's get into the running back thing. Jonathan Taylor right now, over the weekend, the ADP slipped. Some people say as low as 3.5. Over the last week, on average, coming in around 2.6 for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Messy situation, you know what I'm saying? Well, not so messy. I think he's there when the season starts.
Yeah.
Dealing with Irsay. Irsay is with the shits.
Yeah.
Right? And Taylor's agent is with the shits as well.
Right.
I'm skeptical drafting him because I'm like, man, I think Son's in a great situation. But on top of how nasty it looked right now, also the fact that the catches will probably come down this year, may have to worry about the touchdowns as well. But where are you at on Taylor in that middle of the second round range?
Well, so I think that's solid because before all of this happened, as of a couple weeks ago, he's my running back 2 coming into the season. I'm going to have to back up a little bit off that right now because of things like the agent are saying. Like, the agent put it out there, and Jonathan Taylor,
off the hook, son.
He just got the agent a couple months ago. He fired the dude, wanted a new contract, so he wanted an agent that's a little aggressive. Well, that's what you're getting. And so Jim Irsay ain't really the type owner. Like, he the type owner that's like, you gonna do that? All right, we gonna see what's happening there. You know what I'm saying? And there's not this now, despite what Jonathan Taylor has been able to do when he healthy, obviously he a top 3 to 5 running back in the league. He don't have as much leverage, which makes the whole J.K. Dobbins thing crazy. The good thing is he wasn't a first round pick, so you can't put the first round option on him, but he's gonna have to play so he could get credit for this season. So eventually he gonna be there. It's just that, what cost, what team, what it gonna do to the team morale. Now, I don't think Jonathan Taylor got no problems with his teammates and vice versa. I saw a practice clip of him, dapping up Anthony Richardson after Anthony Richardson made a play. But I think this Colts team really got a shot. And when I say got a shot, I mean to compete in this division. But to have that, you need Jonathan Taylor, your best player, on all cylinders, coming into the season. They lost Zach Moss for a little bit with the broken wrist, so they hurting for the running backs right now. But where I would take them in the second round, definitely. And then third round is just a crazy steal for me because I just don't see no situation where he ain't playing, especially when they could put him on that NFI list and not pay him at all. It's an ugly situation, but at the end of the day, I don't see him not being on the field. And when he out there, he gonna play. He ain't gonna sissy ass it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he gonna play because when you out there, that's what you got to do. He gonna play for his teammates. It's just a tough situation they in. And Jim Irsay already say, we ain't extending you. So
yeah,
something got to give. Good thing for him. he could get out there when he's 26 years old. It'll be another year, but he could get out there.
Yeah, but it's going to be some franchise tags. It seems like that's what's going to come. Oh, listen, he could come in. If he has a good year this year, he can come into that $10, $11 million range. But you never know with Irsay. He could be the kind of cat to hold a grudge, you know what I'm saying, and keep it
Right.
rocking that way. Breece Hall, 4.8 right now, latest NFFC average draft position for New York Jet running back Breece Hall. I was kind of getting into him because I like his yards per reception, you know what I'm saying? To me, that shows somebody that's spry and in their prime. I worry about him coming off the injury. So my thing is like this. I won't be overexposed to him. I may put him on one team.
Yeah.
So if he hits, he hits. But I'm not going to be overexposed to Breece Hall. I like the player, though.
Yeah, you just gotta definitely a solid running back. You just gonna have to get another Jets running back later on. If not, it being Dalvin Cook, whose stock would rise from his current 5th round ADP if he signed with the Jets. Thing too, now Breece Hall, he got 4.39 speed, but he one of them backs who got to get going. He not shot out of a cannon. That yards per reception is definitely boosted by an 80-yard reception touchdown that he had versus the Broncos. But he's a type player who could do that a couple. He could do that. So you don't say, well, take that out. But but since he only played 7 games, that's kind of the outlier there. But what's interesting about this this late round 4 ADP, I think this one may be a little too high. Them, flirting with Dalvin Cook, let me know that they want to bring him along slow. They don't want to rush it coming off the ACL. It's a young player. He coming into his 2nd year. They really want Dalvin Cook. And if you have Dalvin Cook, I expect that Dalvin Cook will be carrying that load to begin the season. As the season goes on, it's not like they're going to just throw Breece Hall in there and give him 20 touches either. So it's like you get to that point in the season where he come back, you could be 4 games into the season. You could be 7 games into the season. And 7 games into the season, that's more than half of your fantasy season. And then you go back to being like, well, damn, I just spent the 4th round pick on this.
So is he worthy of a stash in cash?
Stash and cash, not for me, because in that 4th round, I'm going to just draft Jahmyr Gibbs, who's fully healthy and who's fully ready to catch 80 passes for you. There's just a couple of other guys I'll take there, so I probably wouldn't even mess with it. Now, if and when they sign Dalvin Cook, I'm hopping all over that. Just because you putting him in an offense with Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, a now healthy Jets O-line, I'm hopping on that. But the Breece Hall, I don't know, man. The whole injury thing is, I be weary of that.
I guess the biggest one so far is Joe Burrow, MVP candidate. People think the Bengals can make a deep run. Favorite stack of tournament style, high stakes style players, the Burrow Chase stack. So let's go. Let's not even look at Burrow right now. I've seen Chase pre-Burrow injury going 1-1. Still seen him going around 1-2, 1-3. Are you hesitant to draft Jamar Chase because of this Burrow injury?
Nah, not at all. I'll still take him in those top 3 picks there. You would, as we get August is when we have most of our drafts, right? You just gotta trust that he'll be ready for week 1. We gotta we dodged the bullet there with Joe Burrow. Everybody went to Twitter and was talking about this is Achilles. I'm like, man, shut y'all Twitter doctor ass up, man.
but to be fair to the Twitter docs, the calf strain is the precursor to the ruptured Achilles. Now,
I just think about KD because I remember for KD,
had it,
they was saying calf all the time, and I was like, man, I don't know. And then you saw what happened. Luckily, Joe Burrow being the quarterback, he don't make some of the movements that these
Yeah,
receivers and these running backs
yeah.
make. I expect they obviously will be truly cautious with this, but you just can't let Jamar Chase slip to somebody later in the first round, because if Joe Burrow does come back ready
Oh,
for week one, then this person that got him at 111, he done got a back to he
yeah.
done
That's
got
tough
like
right there.
he gonna be winning a lot. So you don't want to let that guy like just go out swinging. If you got top 3 picks, just take them.
So what about Burrow though? You feel good about Burrow going into the season? You know, kind of had a slow start last year for Burrow, and the team finished strong. Obviously, finished strong the last 2 years. Would you think a slow start is coming again for Burrow and the Bengals, or would you still think he comes into the season, get him on your fantasy team, put a couple of dollars on him to win the MVP? Has anything changed in your mind for Joe
Nah.
Burrow going nothing?
Nah. He healthy Joe Burrow. He the first quarterback I want that don't have those dual threat abilities. Like between him, between him and Tua, that's the first quarterback I want that I know can't run for 700 yards. You know what I'm saying? Healthy Joe, whether he starts slow or not, it'll even if he do start slow, you know it ain't gonna be but a game or two. He started off last year with a 4 interception game. You know, he got back on track. So, I ain't worried about him if he on the field.
Yeah, I've already invested, and I plan on investing some more. So my thing would be the price at this point. You want to be able to get a discount, but yeah, I'm going to be confident about Joe Burrow. Listen, if he runs out there and he's good to go and he give you 17, guess what? He's going to be problematic, and so is your team. Speaking of quarterbacks, right? And this is not really something that people discuss a lot. You know what I'm saying? But in a one quarterback league, your bench quarterback, really for the most part, you're hoping if the season works out right, he's a dude that you play 1 week when your main guy got a bye
Yeah.
week. But when you look around the league at some of these QB2 type guys, you know what I'm saying? I'm just curious um where you stand on some of them. I would ask you to rank them, right? But we can just go through basically the
I could
players.
rank him.
The way they're ranked right now is Daniel Jones. This is by NFFC ADP.
Yeah,
Daniel
yeah.
Jones, Geno Smith, Anthony Richardson, Jordan Love, Bryce Young, Kenny Pickett. That's 13 to 25. Jones being 13, Pickett being 25, Geno Smith at 14, Bryce Young at 24.
Yeah, I would just I'd put Anthony Richardson first there. I'd go Geno Smith second, Daniel Jones third, and who was the other ones?
Bryce Young and Jordan Love, Bryce Young and Kenny Pickett.
Hmm. Jordan Love. That's who do I think I would go Jordan Love next, Bryce Young and Kenny Pickett, because I have Jordan Love. I believe I got Jordan Love inside my top 20 or right at 20, which means you'd be rostering him as your bench quarterback. You know, first year.
How do you feel about him?
Well, this is the thing. First year, all quarterbacks who done did something were all first time quarterbacks at some point.
No doubt.
I ain't saying he gonna beat Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes at some point was a first time quarterback. You know what I'm saying? There were questions about him, and it ain't a lot of people who had him inside their top 10 quarterbacks in 2018. I will say this. The good thing for Jordan Love is you got a division right there that you could compete in. You still got Aaron Jones back there, who I would imagine they lean on a lot. He's another running back being slept on, and that's another one I'll take before Brees Hall. I'll just add that in there too. You got AJ Dillon you can lean on. The wide receiver group is young, but they're young guys who played. Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs played a little bit last year. You got Jaden Reed. He gonna get an opportunity to grow with his players. He'll be better than a lot of people think. I think most people most people in our industry just gonna rank these newcomers extra low just because they knew. But Jordan Love gonna have these dudes competing for that division week in, week out. They'll be in the games. What I like about him is he ain't getting there. When he got in there last year, he ain't getting there with the bed. So
No, he looked sharp
I,
when he got in there
I,
last year.
I, you be a little foolish to sleep on Jordan Love, or you just ain't watch him enough to feel like he could actually do something.
Where do you have Richardson ranked?
Richardson is my quarterback 6 right now.
You got him
So
at
base,
QB 6. So you
yes,
expect
sir.
1,000 yards rushing.
Not necessarily. I expect him to throw for more yards than what people think he can actually do. This is a league where, you playing
There was
17 games.
criticism that pass on Twitter everybody saw. It took him 7 hours to throw it.
Which one? The deep ball throw?
The deep ball. The release is not pro ready. Is the criticism. But
Yeah.
I'm saying they're in shorts and t-shirts. So I'm not getting that deep.
Yeah, nah. If we talking about that particular play, it was roll out against the grain, and he just hit it with the flick of the wrist and threw it 60 yards downfield to Alec Pierce. That's it. That's his strong suit, is the deep ball passes and accuracy, as well as the pocket presence. But it's not out of the like he could get out there and throw for 3,500 yards and then rush for 800 yards and give you 30 total touchdowns between passing and rushing. Put it like this here. The season that Daniel Jones had and everybody's going so crazy over, the season he had statistically 15 touchdowns, like he gonna smoke that passing touchdown wise. The rushing numbers that Daniel Jones had, 700 yards and another 7 touchdowns, he could at least get that at minimum. So 3,500 passing yards, 800 rushing yards with 30 total touchdowns. No matter whether they winning the games or losing them, you're gonna need that production out of Anthony Richardson. And I say this with Jonathan Taylor being there in the backfield, because that's what's gonna put the stress on the defense, having to deal with that read option, that RPO. If it was bad, if you thought it was bad dealing with Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders, watch what Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor can do. Although they don't have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown on the outside.
We'll talk a little bit about who they do have on the outside. I'm optimistic for Richardson as well. I'm taking him as a Q. Would you enter a league? Would you draft a team going into the season with Rich as your QB1?
Yeah, so I will do that, just like I did with Tua last year. So whatever league I didn't get Lamar in last year, I was taking Tua. And
Tua wasn't a rookie last year, though.
No, but they're still going from a fantasy perspective. They were going in the same. Yeah, like people was like, a lot of people had Tua as their quarterback too, right? So if I missed out on if I missed out on dudes like Hurts and Lamar, because them was the two I was targeting, then I would just wait it out, stack up some players, and get Tua. I'm doing the same thing with Anthony Richardson. As far as redraft, I've been experimenting with that, and mock drafts I've been doing with other people in the industry. I just did one the other day with some people from Yahoo, and I ended up taking Anthony Richardson in the 10th round. Somebody took Lamar in the 4th. I was gonna get him in the 5th. The 4th was a little too rich for my blood. I waited and got Anthony Richardson. So I'm definitely not scared to go in with Anthony Richardson as my quarterback 1, because, well, I have him ranked as a quarterback 1. So I'm gonna play it. You know what I'm saying? How I rank him, just like Jahmyr Gibbs.
A lot of cats in this industry don't do that.
Right. I got Jahmyr Gibbs as a top 10 running back, 7 to be exact. So I love the fact that he's my RB2. You know what I'm saying? I love that. Like in this same draft, I got Derrick Henry in the 2nd round. I think I took Keenan Allen in the third. And then I picked up Jahmyr Gibbs in the fourth. So I now feel like I have 2 top 10 running backs with me.
All right. You had mentioned something about Richardson. Well, I think we got a lot of the Richardson stuff out the way. I love Geno Smith going into this year. Yeah. I like Geno Smith so much that I think I would be, if I'm in the tournament, I'm trying to knock down a big one, I wouldn't mind a Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, JSN stack. Like, I think Geno Smith is a stackable quarterback this year.
Yeah, and that's another guy I'll have he's in my top 12 as well. That means quarterback 1. That means dude that you're starting. Listen, when you talk about the dual threat quarterbacks and then you get to the guys that aren't as much, Geno Smith should be the first one that comes to your mind after you done, like Joe Burrow gone already. You know what I'm saying? Geno Smith's team.
You got Geno ranked higher than Dak Prescott?
Yeah, probably by 1 spot.
And is Geno ranked higher than Russell Wilson?
I could pull it up right now. Geno Smith. I got Geno.
Wait till I get off the screen.
I got all them dudes in that same because I like to bounce back for Russell Wilson as well. Okay. Let's see. I got Russell Wilson at 13 here. I got Geno Smith at 11. I actually got Dak Prescott at 14.
Okay.
So I have them all in that same range. People are expecting, Geno to kind of fall off a little bit. They feel like it was a fluke. The team didn't get worse. They only added to what they had.
Yeah.
They added Jackson Smith-Njigba, who gonna be playing. Like, it ain't like they didn't lose anyone of significance.
Geno slowed down when the running game slowed down last year. As long as they're able to run the ball effectively, and I think another year in the office, and like you said, they add more pieces. Geno Smith's a top 12 fantasy quarterback, and I don't even think it's going to be close.
They could end up being a terror and far further than fantasy, just winning that division over the San Francisco 49ers.
I like them to win the division. I would sprinkle them to win the NFC.
That ain't crazy either, but people going to think it's crazy because nothing close to it happened last year. Did people not see the Eagles? They went to the wild card, got smoked by the Bucs when Jalen Hurts didn't have no weapons, right? The Seahawks got smoked by the 49ers in the wild card round. Next year, they're in the Super Bowl. People things change in the Seattle Seahawks address what they needed to address, especially defensively, to make that leap as a team. So it shouldn't, especially we talking about the NFC here.
NFC,
right?
Yeah.
We're talking about the Eagles, the Niners, the Cowboys. Who else is next? It's the Seahawks.
Seahawks, I would agree. You know what I'm saying? I would go with the Seahawks. I also like, when it comes to these last 2 quarterbacks, I ask you this way. Well, that's not a fair question because they play in different conferences. Who has a better year? Who are you at the end of the season and you look back on the year of Bryce Young and you look back on the year of Kenny Pickett? Who do you think you're going to be talking more optimistically about?
This one is easy for me.
My bad. I'm a Kenny Pickett supporter. I love Bryce Young though. You know what I mean?
That gonna be a tough go for my man. It's like that picture that they be posting on the internet with the 3 dragons, and 2 of them look mean and aggressive, and then the other one look goofy. Well, that's what I picture when I think of Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, and Kenny Pickett.
But Pickett has something on the sideline that the other ones don't have. That's what makes Pickett so dangerous, is because he's going to be groomed properly.
Well, John Harbaugh ain't no slouch.
You're right. You're right.
He ain't
He
no
got one of them
slouch.
things. He got one of them things too.
Bengals was just in the Super Bowl recently, and
To
then the
me, the
Brown.
Bengals is Joe Burrow. I think they get there in spite of Taylor, but I got to give Taylor his credit.
Yeah, whatever it be the case, you look at Bryce Young on the other hand, just simply take out all of that stuff, better player than Kenny Pickett. That's you ain't gonna
100%. Number
not a
one
lot of
overall
people.
draft pick. Yeah.
Now, we had to force ourselves to get a quarterback in the first round in the previous draft. It ended up being Kenny Pickett. Then they found out they could have got Buddy in the second or third round. So you look at Bryce Young, who's in this NFC South now, right? With the other quarterbacks being Derek Carr, Desmond Ridder, and Baker Mayfield. Well, in this conference, in this division, Bryce Young, he's the tough looking aggressive dragon, and the rest of them kind of looking goofy. You know what I'm saying? So it's, Bryce Young gets to play against the NFC South. He
Yep.
gets to play against the AFC South as well. So he might not have as good of a roster or coach, but I'm banking on him having the better player, the better schedule, and just not having to, still Pittsburgh gonna find a way to be hovering around 500 at the end of the year. Then it'll be coming down to, can you win this game? But if we talk about from a fantasy perspective, fantasy, real, give me Bryce Young, give me his mobility and being able to create more throws with his mobility over Kenny Pickett. Give me the rookie there. Give me every rookie in the first round over Kenny Pickett, even CJ Stroud.
Okay. All right. So let's get into this. Let me ask you a couple players. We're getting late. We want to get you out of here. You mentioned Deshaun Watson. He looked bad last year.
Yeah.
He looked bad. He looked bad like they cloned Tyrone bad. I'm like, is that Deshaun Watson? What is y'all talking? It's not Deshaun Watson. He looks so bad. I'll be honest with you. I'm scared to go back to him this year. I'm out.
I got a league, right, Corey, where I have to choose either take, and it's a keeper league. I either get Cam Akers in the 11th or I get Deshaun Watson in the 14th. It's on paper, it looked easy. Just take Cam Akers, right? Because there's no one competing for over touches. But man, Deshaun Watson, I expect them to get back to the real Deshaun Watson. That'll be a hell of a pick in the 14th round there. I fully expect him to get back to what he was, his last few years with the Texans. Got a whole real offseason under his belt. Whatever, he was dealing with, that's behind him, I think.
Again.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I think, coming in, I think him playing last year and playing in those 6 games was good for him. I like the fact that he was able to play those games instead of coming back this year and coming in week 1 like, oh, here I'm back. Nah, you got that sorry shit out the way.
Speed, yeah.
Like that 6 games was the worst of his career if you just put it all together. But he wasn't playing games before that, and it wasn't because of injury. You just had to sit on the sideline and watch your team be average on the TV. Man, now he back, man. Amari Cooper was balling last year too. You got Nick Chubb, the best of the best in the backfield right there. Offensive line is solid. They added to their defense. This team is going to be challenging the Ravens and the Bengals in that division. Like 10-win season I'm talking about.
There's probably the AFC, the 5th seed, the 8th seed, when the playoffs start, the 8th seed, well, the AFC team that don't make the playoffs will probably be better than 4 of the NFC teams in the playoffs.
Well, I don't doubt that one bit.
100% could see that happening. Calvin Ridley makes his return. How are you feeling about Calvin Ridley after 1 year of him being out of football?
Good. What he is, 28, 29. He looking explosive as hell in them clips we've seen, but that's not something I'm going off of. Like, I knew he was still explosive. Like, this is a professional athlete. He didn't play in the game for a year. Well, guess what? He'll get a couple reps there in the preseason. This is a professional athlete, and he's not a running back. Shout out to Le'Veon Bell, who was out that year. And he's not a running back. He's, Christian Kirk came in, got 1,100 yards. He better than him. I think it's more good for Trevor Lawrence, to be honest. But I will say this: Zay Jones is still gonna have good games here and there. It's not gonna be a situation where it's 8 for 100 every game like he Justin Jefferson. As far as Calvin Ridley go, you still got Christian Kirk. You still got Zay Jones, who in his own right coming off 80 catches and 800 yards, right? So you'll have your spots, but I fully expect Calvin Ridley to be their top receiver this year. Damn, you got Evan Ingram too, who they just signed to the contract. But I wouldn't be mad if Calvin Ridley was my third receiver on my team. Don't know if
Right now, the ADP is going off the board as wide receiver 17. So that would be if you get him as your wide receiver 3, that means
you would have had to
3 wide receivers in the first 4 to 5 rounds.
Right. You would have taken two receivers, a running back, and then, maybe Calvin Ridley. And in that case, I would have no problem with that, because then I'll get ready to start looking at a Lamar if that's where I want to go. Or if I want to get that other running back, I'll start looking at that. Could start looking at some tight ends in the 6th, 7th round, like a Darren Waller or something. So, yeah.
Micheal Pittman is going off the board right now in NFC as wide receiver 32. If you like the Colts offense, you must love Micheal Pittman.
Yeah, I think he could have his best season yet, and I definitely have him ranked higher than 32. Think about it, and when I say he could have his best season yet, right? People don't realize he ain't just been out here killing it this year. You know what I'm saying? He ain't been catching 110 passes and doing all his best season would simply be 1,100 yards and 95 catches, 6 touchdowns. That's it. So again, this is again, I do like Alec Pierce a little bit more too, again, because I like the Colts offense. Again, I just want to see Jonathan Taylor get back, because Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson, that's what's gonna make life great for Micheal Pittman and those Colts wide receivers.
Finally, before we get you up out of here, DeAndre Swift is a name that for the past 24 months, with the past 2 Augusts, DeAndre Swift. Now, and then August, DeAndre Swift. In October, DeAndre Swift, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Now DeAndre Swift's in Philadelphia. I feel like it could work there.
Yeah, good situation. Problem is, Eagles use multiple backs, and obviously Rashad Penny, I like DeAndre Swift is the first running back going off the Eagles in drafts in the 5th or 6th round. But that little report came out yesterday that Rashad Penny taking them first team reps, and they seeing him as a 3-down back. This is the thing with the Eagles. They see all of their running backs is 3-down backs. So you still gonna see Kenneth Gainwell in the game. Like, people would like to think it's gonna be a 1-2 punch. You'll see Kenneth Gainwell every now and again, and if you get lucky, you'll see Boston Scott, especially against the Giants. But I was liking DeAndre Swift as the a nice little value in that 5th, 6th round. But now they talking about Penny, who I think everybody loved him when he first got to the Eagles, because before Swift got there, then they traded for Swift. It's just gonna be, pick your poison. But as of today, the better value just might be Rashad Penny, dog.
Hey, I cannot disagree with you on that one. I know how Rashad Penny, if he healthy, he runs like a
Oh,
madman. You know
if
what I'm saying?
he healthy, he out of a cannon.
Yeah, he runs
Big,
like a
strong,
madman.
yeah, man.
He reminded me a little bit of running style of Said Benson when Said Benson was getting it done. Steady, steady, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
NBC Sports Edge, Fantasy Football Happy Hour, the rebrand of Roto World. Kyle Pitts, can you do something for me?
Yeah.
Lawrence Jackson Jr. Follow him on Twitter at Lord Don't Lose. Fantasy Executive Show. Though, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Good looking out, my brother. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
No doubt. And we out.